Okay, everybody, let's take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. And as we breathe into this sweet July date, where we know that all good things are happening in the divine realms and here on earth, and all we have to do is shift our perspective to see it all and to remember that we are living in an all good, all God universe all the time. And that when our monkey minds or our human minds tell us otherwise, we just take a breath and we lift up above whatever heavy challenges we might be feeling. And we decide to see it through the lens of our soul, understanding the higher order of every event, every relationship, and every moment of our lives. And so it is. So I wanted to tell you all or share with you that today is July 13th, as you know, and it's the 43rd anniversary of my beautiful husband, Paul, crossing in my arms. And he always gives me the most amazing signs to remind me that he's with me. And this year, I think I got the most powerful one I've gotten in a long time. So I wanted to tell you all about it. Jean and I were in Cave Creek this weekend and we were shopping, but we were talking really, and I was telling Jean that I was feeling so super sensitive and emotional. And I was, a friend had reminded me, oh, the body always remembers grief and caring for a dying husband. That's what you're feeling. And so I was just talking to Jean about all that. And we walked into this art store in Cave Creek, and walked right into it was this huge metal sculpture of the symbol that Paul gave me when we fell in love, of the crescent moon with the star in the middle. And he had given that to me as a necklace when we fell in love. And he had said, I'm the moon and you're the star. And it became our symbol. And then on the night of his outdoor service in 43 years ago, we were sitting outside for the service, and a friend nudged me to look up at the sky, and in the sky was the crescent moon with the big star in the middle. It was the planet Jupiter, and it's a rare occurrence for that to happen. And there it was the night that Paul had crossed. And so that was embedded forever as a sign from Paul that all is well. And this weekend, as I walked into that store with Jean, that amazing symbol was right there. And so, of course, we bought it and brought it home, and it's now living over our fireplace in the family room. And it just took me out of all my sensitivity and stuff. It's like, Paul's got this. Every spirit on the divine realms has got this. And we are always protected. We are always guided. And this human realm can feel tough and it can feel confusing. But when we open to get those signs from divinity, they're always there. And for your homework, you were asked to, I'll just read it to you. Ask your guides and beloveds and God consciousness to give you a God moment this week where you see God in everyone and everything and everywhere, including yourself. Even if it's just for a moment, it counts. It's a win. It's a divine lens moment. So that was my divine lens moment. Does anybody else have a divine lens moment they'd like to share? You have to unmute if you're going to say something.
I'll go.
Okay.
I went through the whole week asking for this moment or this experience, and it wasn't happening. And finally, Wednesday, that would have been yesterday, on my way to work at 6:30 in the morning, I put on one of my favorite songs by an artist, Ashana Lobadi, who has the most angelic voice, and she uses her voice in singing bowls, but it's like otherworldly.
Mhm.
And the song that came on was Loving Kindness, which I love. And I just, when I hear that song, but this time when I heard it, I, something happened. I think my heart opened and I actually started crying in the car, and I realized I was having the moment.
Oh,
And it
that's
was
so
just,
good.
it was so beautiful with the music. And I
Oh,
did feel what you talked about, like there weren't other people there except for the people in the other cars, but I just really felt one with the music and her voice and just the words, loving kindness for all peoples. And I thought, wow, I wouldn't mind having one of those like every day.
yeah, I know. And you know, I when I walked in the store and saw that sign, I had that, I mean, I instantly burst into tears, but they were happy tears. They were like,
Right.
oh
Yeah.
my God, I feel the God in this moment. I feel the God consciousness of this moment. And the store owner, you know, Jean took her aside and kind of explained, because I was standing in front of this piece of artwork going, oh my God, oh my God. And then she's like, yeah, it's nice, but really, you're gonna cry over it? And Jean was explaining that it was a sign. But did anybody else have a moment like that they want to share? Yes, Carrie, remember to unmute. Thank you.
So for months, over a year now, I get numbers from my son. 1117 is his birthday, and then he's an 11 path and I'm a 7 path. So I either get 117 or 11 or his full 1117. And so every time I see it like 10 plus times a day, and it just brings me right to
Wow.
that, like
Yes.
remembering the connection with him, and I get to the point now I'm like, good one, Grant. Like,
That's so good. That's so, so good.
but I tried to also do where I was connected with everyone and loved and didn't judge, and
Yeah.
those moments felt really good and nice. And
Yeah. So what Carrie's talking about is our second homework piece, where I said, open your heart and picture unconditional love pouring into the top of your head from the highest source of loving God consciousness and out through your heart chakra to everyone in your path. Send them a wave of unconditional love for no reason, with no words. Just be the source and watch the effects it has. So that's beautiful, Carrie, that you did that. And did you notice when you were doing that, other people kind of feeling that or recognizing that?
I used it like when things were getting tense also,
Mhm.
like, and it immediately calmed people down.
Yeah.
So it's hard to
Well,
remember all of the moments, but I
right,
was aware of it this past week, and it was
right.
cool.
That's so good. Well, I had one of those moments too, and I decided to do it in the grocery store because I was just telling Brenda that going to the grocery store is kind of problematic this time of year in Arizona, because you come out to your car and it's like 130,000 degrees and you have groceries. Um, so I decided I needed to pump the love in the grocery store so that when I walked out into the heat, I'd be in a good space, you know. And it was amazing to do it. You guys should do it in a grocery store. I mean, you don't say anything. You just walk around like emanating love, you know, and people take it in a very, they don't take it as anything weird. They just go, oh, and they kind of smile at you, you know, and whatever they're thinking, I don't know, but they feel something. You can tell that that energy you're putting out is helping them smile. It's helping them remember their own God consciousness. And it was very fun to do it in a grocery store. So I highly recommend it. So anybody else want to share before we move on to another exercise? Kelly? No, you have to unmute if anybody's speaking. No, okay. All right. So I have an important question for discussion today, but before I get to that, I wanted to talk about something, because last week we talked about who is God and what is God and how that's so important in our understanding of our own divinity, and that how we look at life as an all good, all God universe. And we talked about unity's basic idea that there is one force that runs this universe, and it is the all good, all God loving consciousness, and that it runs inside of all of us. And we also talked about how having grief and challenges, that's when we forget that principle, or we decide maybe that isn't true, that there can't possibly be an all good, all God consciousness running the universe if we just lost our loved one, or we just got diagnosed with a health problem. And I wanted us to talk about how there's two stories in our head at every moment, no matter what comes to us. So I have a friend, I won't name her, but she's a beautiful soul, and she was recently diagnosed with a pretty serious illness. And as I was talking to her about it, she was telling me the two stories that are dancing in her head, and they were happening simultaneously. And one of them is, this is all in divine order, and all will be well. I will restore my perfect health. And if not, then I will gracefully be happy to be done with this lifetime and ascend into my higher consciousness of the divine realms. And then the other voice happening at the same time in her head was, this is horrible. I don't want to be sick. I'm not ready to die. All of the human parts of us like battling. She said it was like literally within 5 seconds, she would find herself switching back and forth between those. And I wanted to ask you all, are you familiar with that? Because I'd like to talk about how to work with that kind of flipping back and forth. It tends to happen when we're faced with a very intense challenge. Okay, we're going to be quiet today. That's okay. So what I wanted to talk about is the remedy. There's so many quick remedies to deal with for that. But one of them that I particularly love is denials and affirmations. And I know you all are familiar with these if you're part of Unity, but Unity teaches that the denial is denying a negative feeling or thought to have any power over you, or denying a negative, quote, negative circumstance to have any power over your consciousness and your happiness. And then once you say that, you follow it up with, and I affirm that I am an all healthy, all loving, all good being. So for example, with a health challenge, you would say, I deny any negative health diagnosis any power to bring me into my pitiful negative self. I affirm that I am an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful being who has absolute purpose and absolute love and light surrounding me and lifting me up through every challenge that comes my way. And so it is. And as you say them, you feel your vibration raise. You just feel yourself like getting control of that moment. And I was wondering if anybody wanted to share a challenge, and I can right here help them come up with a denial and affirmation for it. I'm happy to do that with all of you if you would like. I'm pretty good at just channeling them in. So if you want me to do it for you, or you want to do it, then step up and share what would help you and what you're facing, a denial and an affirmation.
So with Grant, like I go back and forth a lot, you know, even at the same time of there's a bigger purpose, and look at all the ripples, and, you know, like I try to focus on the positives, but then of course, you know, the human part comes in.
So I deny my human consciousness and my feelings of grief and loss any power over my all-knowing soul that knows there is no death, and that this life is a brief soul agreement, and I'm learning exactly what I came to learn. I affirm that I am filled with the love and the presence of my departed loved one, and that every day in every way they are showing me who I am and how to move forward as a powerful divine being. And I am living in a way that makes them proud. And so it is.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really beautiful.
I'm going to say one for Paul, for my husband, me today, because, yeah, I need to. So I'll share that one. I deny any trauma, sadness that's left in my body or in my human memory, any power over me at this time of year to make me feel sensitive or emotional or teary-eyed. I affirm that I am so much greater than a human being with a grief story, that I am a powerful divine being who has used every moment of my pain to try to do good work in the world, helping others with what I know to be helpful when we are devastated with grief. And so it is. That helped. Anybody else have one they want to do or ask me to do?
I do. So I'm actually in the middle of a 3-week leave from work because of my dad passing. I was like, I need to just finally just stop and at least eliminate a stressor for a little bit so I can focus on myself. Because one of the things that has come up since I started planning my dad's celebration of life back in March was I now have stress hives and stress itching. And so I would love something for that because it is miserable.
Yeah. And Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it true? Do you have also, if I'm remembering the story right, you weren't there with him when he crossed, and so you probably have some guilt and some feelings about that?
Yep, 100%.
So let me do one for that. Okay. I deny any human understanding of life and death and a limited view of time and space, any power over my ability to see my magnificent Father around me, loving me, hugging me, and so happy to be free of his body. I affirm that he knows that I loved him and he's loved me perfectly in this lifetime, and that not being with him was how he wanted this exit to go. He wanted to leave his body exactly when he did, and he came immediately to me and immediately to love on me. And he is so happy with who I am in my life. And so it is.
Wow, that was beautiful.
It's really true, Jennifer. I can guarantee you that the minute, even before he took his last breath, he was lifting out of that body and so happy to be out of it. And he came right to you, even if you didn't feel it or recognize it. And he's still coming right to you to comfort you and lift you up. And often a soul will leave when everybody's not there because they feel that the attachment would be too great. My father left after I left the room and went back to, I was my dad's person and he was mine. And my family on that day sent me home to babysit the grandchildren. And I think I've told this before a million times, and I'm sorry if you've heard it, but I went home and got the kids down for a nap and sat down to meditate. And because I was meditating, I was receptive. And he suddenly appeared in front of me, healthy and happy and joking and making me laugh. And then when I opened my eyes and went, oh my God, Dad, what are you doing here? I called the hospital, and Jim, my brother, said he just had a heart attack and they're doing CPR and it's chaos. But he had already left that body and he had already come to tell me. And Jim, my brother, even said, you were with Dad more than any of the rest of us, because they were in the hospital chaos and Dad had already left that room, that body.
Yeah.
Anybody else need a denial and an affirmation?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
Um,
Marsha, I love you.
I love you. And well, as you know, I've had a stroke, and for the most part, I tend to be positive, but I certainly go back and forth. Why did this happen? And I recently just lost a very dear friend that I taught with. It's been 2 weeks ago yesterday. And I was feeling some of the same things. I wasn't able to go because of my physical limitations. But she came to me when she left her body.
Oh,
And
Marcia.
she was floating above me and she said, "I'm free." And I got a call later that day, but I already knew that she'd left her body.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. So doesn't sound like you need a denial and affirmation about that, or do you? Do you still want
Well,
something?
yeah, I
Okay.
do.
All right. I deny the grief I have over the loss of my friend and not being able to celebrate her life with the community. I deny that feeling any power over my ability to know that she is free and filled with love and very present with me, and that there is no death. And I affirm that I walk every day in the knowingness that spirit is eternal, and that our divine self and our divine lens is the only truth, and that this physical world is a brief blip in our journey. And I agreed to take on some big challenges in this life, physical challenges, and I'm sailing through them with grace and love and feeling like I've accomplished what I've come to do. And so it is.
Thank you.
Love you, Marcia.
You too.
Anybody else? Mary Ellen, yay.
I don't know how to word it. It's just I've had in the last probably 2-3 weeks pain, and I always listen to my body in terms of anytime the body's talking to me, I immediately pull out Louise Hay and just like, okay,
Right.
give me a clue here, what's going on, and it all goes down to my feet, the pain, like plantar, if you want to give it a name, and my legs just cramping and just the moving forward in life and letting
Right.
go of the past,
Right.
lovingly releasing the past. I am free, they are free, all is well in my heart now. I know the affirmation, but maybe it's the denial part is that I don't know what's next for me. And we just had another anniversary, his 9th anniversary of the stroke. So it's kind of that same thing, that energy going into it.
Right.
But
Right.
it's like, I'm trying to get healthy. I'm really trying to establish my life.
Yeah.
So moving and getting out in nature and doing all that, that's where my
Right.
funness moments are, is being up and watch the sun come through the clouds and connecting with the birds. And
Yeah.
that's my, but when
But
you're
Mary Ellen, I just want to say that one of the things that happens to all of us is when something comes into our life, especially health things, we just get upset. We want to resist it. I mean, I've got my own health things that I keep arguing with, my body about and trying to resist and everything. And the ultimate surrender, and I'll do it as a denial and an affirmation in just a moment, but it's to say, I am completely at peace with whatever it is my body is bringing to me. And I surrender to whatever the grace and the love and the lesson of this moment is. And I feel the pain for the great love of this universe, for my own God consciousness. I surrender all resistance. And I would say the denial for you would be, I deny any physical pain the power to pull me back into my sense of being limited and held back in my life. I affirm that there is no place where God is not, and that God is in every moment of every breath I take, in every cell of my body. And so it is.
Amen. Thank you.
You know, Marcia, one time when I was really sick, a friend said to me, if you're going to throw up for God, surrender it, you know, just go with it, quit fighting. And that's helped me so much because we just fight whatever's on our plate, you know, and it's part of our nature to do that. But the surrender brings so much grace sometimes, you know, and boy, I'm tough and you're tough, Mary Ellen. It takes a lot to get us to surrender, you know, like we're warrior queen women here. But when I finally find myself on my knees going, I don't know anything. I surrender to whatever this is. I'm going to walk through it without resistance. I always find peace in that. And Mary Ellen, you know Verl from Unity of Phoenix, right? Do you know that she's been in the hospital?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, well, we should connect. She's home. Well, she's now with her daughter, I think, not home, but with her daughter. And she's got a pretty serious diagnosis. So
Oh,
yeah, everybody's in the community's kind of trying to reach out to her and help her. Some of you know Verl. Verl's been in a lot of my classes. She's an extraordinary woman. You know her, Marcia. She's been in a lot of my classes. So let's just say a quick prayer for Verl. Our amazing Verl, who we cherish, who has walked through so much grief in this life, losing her beloved son many, many decades ago, and rising up from that pain and creating an amazing, productive life where everywhere she went, she brought warmth and sunshine to everyone. Now we send warmth and sunshine to Verl 100 times over, lifting her up from whatever this moment is for her, surrounding her in her own God consciousness and divine love. And so it is. All right. Anybody else want a denial or an affirmation or to say anything?
Can I ask a question about what you just said?
Yes.
So what is I kind of could hear the difference, but what's the difference between praying that somebody gets better, like praying where it's not really our right to choose what their soul's path is,
Right,
versus like sending them love and, you know, like, where's that line?
so that's a good question, because there's a lot of people who believe, and even in Unity, who believe that perfect health is our birthright and that's what we should all be praying for, a miracle all the time. And I personally don't believe that. I believe that our soul signs up for a certain process because it's what we're learning from, or what we want to overcome as part of our learning. Whatever, either way, only that soul knows what it is. And so in my prayer to Verl, which I hope I did correctly just now, is to send her so much love and graciousness and light so that she rises above whatever struggles she's feeling. And so, for example, if I'm ever in a hospital homesick or anything, I would hope that people are not praying for me to be restored to perfect health, because if that's not my soul agreement, like with Paul, with my husband Paul, I tried to heal that man for a year. Everyone tried to heal him for a year, and it wasn't his path to be healed. His agreement was something different for his own purposes of enlightenment, really. And I learned the lesson in that we are never in charge of another person's healing, only they are. But what we are in charge of is filling them with love and light and courage and divinity as they walk through whatever they're walking through. You know, I was working with a client the other day who told me this really sad story that she and her husband were part of a very fundamentalist Christian church. And he was diagnosed with cancer, and they were young. They were in their 40s. And the minister had them go through all of these rituals, anointing with oil, saying these sacred words every day, because that would create a miracle of healing for him. And that was the only way God was going to do it, was to heal him. And that kind of death meant that they hadn't done it right or something. And she said, we were so devout. We did that constantly, that the prayers that we were supposed to be saying, and the anointing with oil, and the knowing that it was going to be a miracle cure. And she said, so when he died, I was so angry at God. And, you know, part of our session was about helping her realize God does not decide if we live or die. That's the man in the sky paradigm that I don't believe in. I believe God is a loving consciousness, a force for all good, but our soul decides what we need to do and learn and grow from while we're here on earth. And we've made those agreements before we come in. But what we do have free will over when we're here is how we walk through certain challenges. And it's true, our soul may decide, hey, I'm going to turn this challenge around. I'm not ready to go. I've got more to do. And our soul may rewrite the contract while we're here, but nobody else writes that contract or rewrites that contract except for our soul, but held in the wisdom of God consciousness. And when we look at it that way, there are no victims. We are all part of this divine unfolding. And what I love about Unity Principles, my favorite author, Eric Butterworth, in fact, I've got some of his great quotes here. He wrote in his book, my favorite book, if you guys are ever looking for inspiration, Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth. And today I was going through it, and my favorite quote is that he wrote, there is no place where God is not. And if you really want to lift your energy, keep repeating this. There is no place where God is not. God is in the moments of suffering and in the moments of joy. God is in the moments of total awareness and the moments of despair. And when we can shift into the awareness that God is in all of this, it just opens our heart and lifts us up. And then we can feel that surrender to whatever the moment is without fighting. So there is no place where God is not. That's my motto lately. The other thing Butterworth says that I think is worth talking about is Eric Butterworth says that Jesus was one of our great enlightened teachers, and that Jesus came to earth to teach us the divinity of man. And what he means by that, and what unity means, is that Jesus, Buddha, and many spiritual teachers came to earth to illuminate, illustrate, and demonstrate that we are divine, we are part of God, that we are not just separate from God and here struggling and begging for salvation, that Jesus taught a different message, and it's to love one another and to love thyself. And that's the divinity of man, to know that that loving consciousness that runs through us all is God, and that any moment that we align with that, tap into that, remember that, we have our God moment. And that's why signs from departed loved ones are so helpful, because they gobsmack us, they Godsmack us. They hit us and we suddenly go, oh, I remember now. It's all a divine universe and I am part of it, even in my moments of struggle. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers your question.
That's great. Thank you.
Was there something else, Kelly? I thought you were about to ask a question.
Well, a comment and a question. I was just going to say those were all so beautiful. And I love how you just seem to channel that so easily. And I felt like I could relate to Mary Ellen because I've got some health challenges. I felt like I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to receive one from you as well.
Okay, good.
So I, besides health challenges, I struggle a lot with worthiness and feeling unworthy. And, you know, I know that it's had a huge impact on my life and me not getting the things that I want, or even particularly like relationships, not feeling worthy of love, um, due to many reasons, you know, core issues, childhood core issues. So is there one that you?
Yeah, so Kelly, let me address that first before I do the denial and affirmation. You know, when we talk about these two views of life, there's two views of ourselves as well. And one is, if I look at myself as a physical being in this physical world with a personality and all of that, and I forget that I'm actually a divine light being, that I'm just temporarily wearing this bodysuit and this personality, that's where self-doubt comes from, when we forget that this is simply a costume that we chose for this lifetime because it was going to bring the perfect path of growth and illumination and enlightenment that we wanted to have. Everybody's body is perfectly chosen for the lifetime, even the parts of it we hate or that we think are not good enough. And that applies to the personality. When you doubt yourself, you are doubting that your personality, your physicality in the world is good enough or perfect, because the world says we have to be perfect. But the truth is, nobody here has a perfect personality or body or physical self. That is, we are all enormously flawed here because we came to learn from things. But in our essence, we are all these extraordinary, powerful light beings. Just close your eyes for a moment and see the extraordinary light emanating from your own body in this moment, because you carry the light of God consciousness in you, in every cell of your body, in every tissue of your body. And the people who love you see beyond the physicality. They see beyond the personality. They see that soul light being in you. And that is the only person you ever want in your life, is someone who goes beyond personality and physicality and focuses on the soul of you. And the soul of you, Kelly, is God consciousness and God filled, and therefore it is perfect. And so I deny any parts of my physical self, my body, my ego, my personality, any power over making me feel less than or unworthy. I affirm that I am an all-loving, all-knowing, powerful light being with God unconditional love pouring through me every moment of every day and out to the world. And therefore, I am incredibly perfect and worthy of all unconditional love from God. And that is all that matters. And so it is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
And Kelly, you and I agreed to one of the harder lessons here, and I don't even know your story, but I'm just going to say it. When we have a mother or a parent who cannot love us, and we agreed to have this experience, it's not a random thing. It's because in this lifetime, we are trying to understand that the only love that's real comes from the unconditional love of God consciousness. And that's our source. And that's where we go for approval, feeling good enough, feeling loved enough. There's no partner in the world who can ever love us that way. There's no mother or father in the world who can ever love us that way. But that unconditional love is in our universe for us and through us 24/7. And it makes us completely worthy and completely lovable. And our mothers are our greatest challenges for that reason, because often they're the ones who have the most trouble loving us. And so we have to go on the journey to find that source of unconditional love and realize, wow, it's me, it's in me. I'm the source.
Thank you.
All right. Have we done everybody?
Sue, while we were talking about that, this prayer came up and what she was talking about, what you were talking about. I wanted to get the verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, allow me to feel unconditional love. Allow me to know what my soul knows, that I am so very loved. And please forgive me for ever thinking I was anything less than loved.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
I had
Okay.
one.
Go ahead.
I mean, everyone else got one, so
Yes, definitely.
I just was sitting there listening to them all, and they were so beautiful. And I really liked what you said, Sue, about not having the mother's love, because now I'm on the other end of it, experiencing it in another way. As a mother, my 28-year-old daughter has chosen to not have me in her life. And this summer makes 2 years. And I have finally come to the point of recognizing she's on her own journey and it's okay, and send her love. But there are other times when, as her mom, I feel like I really failed her.
Oh, baby girl, I'm just holding you in my heart right now. And I'm telling you, you have agreed to an intense soul agreement with her, and that in many lifetimes you've been in different relationships with her. And this was the lifetime where she and you both agreed that she was going to push away from you at some point, and the pain that it would cause both of you would cause both of you to learn to love bigger and better and more unconditionally, and that you would come back to each other later in this lifetime with the most pure love, and it would heal all wounds that might have happened in other times together, and it would bring you to perfect love in all of your relationships. You agreed to that, Brenda, and it will happen sooner than you could imagine. And your daughter is learning. She's not getting through this without learning intense lessons. She's in Saturn return. So, she's definitely going through her pain, even if you don't see that, or you don't, see it. You'll hear the story someday in the future about what was going on with her and why she had to push you away. And often, Brenda, if a mother is very powerful, and my daughter pushed me away for a little while too, when the daughter comes of age, they feel overpowered. But even though we don't intend it, like I was a lot for my daughter when she hit her 20s and she was out establishing herself. And so there was a time in there where she just really put her walls up with me. And what I know, then she came back to me when she was on more secure footing in who she was, because daughters and mothers are so connected that the daughter will feel like, I don't know who I am because I'm so overpowered by my mother's presence, and I have to push myself away to find out who I am. But that's okay. It just means that had to happen in this lifetime, and you will come back together, and you'll each be established in your own identity and your own self-worth, and it'll be a completely equal and unconditionally loving relationship.
Thank you.
And God help our children in Saturn return in their late 20s, because it's a really hard time for them, and they're trying to figure out who they are in this very intense world that we're in. And so I want to address that for a moment. If you have someone in your life who you're concerned about, especially a child, or even anyone that is in your life here on this side of the veil. If they're on the other side of the veil, we don't need to worry about them. They're doing great. They're doing way better than us. But if they're here and you're concerned about them, one of the most powerful tools is that you do a meditation, and I'm going to do an Om Namah Shivaya meditation with you all in just a minute, because I want you to have that tool in your toolbox. but you do a little meditation, you quiet the mind, and then you see that person. So Brenda, you would see your daughter as their best and highest and happiest and most loving self. And you see them looking at you with pure love, and you send in your mind, in your imagination, you send pure, unconditional love and joy to them. Not worry, not fear, not sadness, not anger, just pure, unconditional love, and just soul to soul. This is how it is when we're in the divine realms, soul to soul, unconditional love. And you see them smiling back, perfect love, perfect awareness, and then release. And if you just do this once or twice a day, you are helping that person, that soul, to lift up above whatever they're going through and have a little more ability to connect with you in a loving way. And I know I've taught this before in classes, and sometimes people have come back and said, yeah, that really, I instantly got a phone call from that person and we healed our relationship. So sometimes it has very quick results. Other times it happens on their end, but you don't hear about it for a while. But trust that it works and use that tool whenever you can.
Can I ask another question? I'm sorry.
No, this is all good, Carrie. Go ahead.
So my sister like went through the life crisis of life crises at like around 29 to 30.
Mhm.
And she's now 36 and frozen. Like she spends weeks at a time in bed and she lives with my parent, like she's
Yeah.
literally frozen.
Yeah.
So is that a thing? Like if
she'll
you
come.
don't do what
She'll
you're
come.
supposed to do?
No. It's never too late. I mean, as long as we're taking another breath, we're still here to, to come to our potential and who we came to be. And, everything is different from the way it looks as well. We have to remember that it may look like a person is just shut down and not growing and not evolving, but there may be things going on inside of them that are helping them learn to heal and begin to see things differently. But we won't know that looking at it from the outside. And I know from working with grieving people that, and me being one as well, that there's times when the world looked at me after Paul and Chrissy died and said, oh my God, she's teaching fitness in Mexico. She's lost her way completely. That's how it looked. But I was really processing and I was healing and I was doing what I needed to do in order to be able to come back to my life and be strong and good and loving. So people do what they have to do. And if it's stay in bed forever, that wasn't an option in my life. But if it had been, I might have done that. So no, we never give up on whatever people are going through. We just hold them in that light of love and know that this is their story, this is their journey, and they'll come through it in their way. So I hope that helps you, Carrie. Yeah.
I'd rather a magic wand, but it's okay.
Yeah. And I've had somebody ask me too, and I can't remember who asked me this. It was at a different class. They asked me, if somebody gets lost in their addictions, does it negate their soul mission? Like, do they not fulfill their soul mission? And I would say that I really asked that question a lot because I have a true first love man who, after we broke up in our early 20s, he became quite addicted to alcohol and marijuana. And I watched him have this sad life. And then I saw him again in our 50s or our 60s, I guess, at a reunion. And he looked so lost and so sad. And yet he died a year ago at this time. And he's come back to me a million ways. And I even had a reading with a powerful medium. And he's like, it doesn't matter what it looked like. In all my addiction and all my pain, I was understanding and learning what I needed to learn. And from the other side, he has just been showing up in ways that are profound to tell me that all is well and he did okay, even if it didn't look that way. So our human judgment of how a life is going, it's almost never right. You know, sometimes the homeless person on the street is more enlightened than the millionaire in the big house. We just have to surrender our judgments on exterior things. Okay. I want to do a little Om Namah Shivaya. It's only going to be for 5 minutes because I just want you to have this tool. Again, if you're having a day where your ego lens and your divine lens are battling it out, battling it out for dominance, so many tools you can use. The denials and affirmations are so good. Remembering that there is no place where God is not, including myself and my own heart. That will always help you, including in your moment of physical pain and suffering. There is no place where God is not. But there's also a way to quiet that mind and stop those thoughts and give yourself some peace. And I've always believed that the Hindus and the Buddhists have that figured out, had that figured out thousands of years ago. And so they use the Sanskrit chanting and the Sanskrit mantras. And let me just explain that Sanskrit is considered the holiest language because it was used for connection to God for thousands of years. And the sound of Om is believed to be the sound of God when we cross over, that we hear that sound Om. So right now, we're going to repeat Om Namah Shivaya, and I'll write those words here in the chat box so that you can read, you can see them if you need to understand what they are. And this is also in my books. I hope you guys bought my new book. This mantra is in my book, Through a Divine Lens. There it is. So it's in the chat. And the words in English mean I connect to God or I connect to divinity, but you don't want to think about their meaning and you don't want to think about anything in English because your mind will just go down the train of thinking about it. So instead, what this meditation is it's simply for quieting the mind, because once we quiet our thoughts, our soul, our God consciousness, our higher self comes through with that divine lens perspective. Because the only thing that keeps us from being in that place is the ego mind, the human mind. So right now, we're quieting it. So take a deep breath with me. And we begin repeating out loud, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And you let that create a rhythm and then bring it quietly inside of yourself. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om. And as your thoughts come in to distract you, you just notice them and don't get upset about them and refocus back on the words Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And then slowly come back to the awareness of your self and the words Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And then end it with a feeling of gratitude. Gratitude for the truth of stillness, of listening to God, of being an open, receptive vessel for the highest God consciousness of unconditional love. And so it is. And if you can do that 5 minutes a day, or 10 minutes a day, or hopefully 20 minutes a day, I promise you, it really helps with the monkey mind, with the ego lens perspective. And it really teaches you how you can lift above whatever thoughts are bothering you, that you have control. You are not those thoughts. You are an expanded God consciousness being, so much bigger than your human mind. Your human mind is just a little toy you had to have when you came to Earth. Your consciousness is so much bigger and aware and more wise and loving than your mind ever shows you. So as you meditate that way, you become more aware of your bigger, higher self. I promise you it will help you. And even if you're having a bad day and you don't have time to sit, just go around repeating those words either quietly to yourself, or if you're home alone, like if you're cooking in the kitchen, just, you can sing Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. When my kids were little, I taught my daughter to say those words as a little happy chant, and she would run around the house going, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And I would say getting through her 20s, meditation became such an important ally for her, a big tool to help her. So that mantra right there can save your life when you're battling the human lens, the ego lens, the self-doubt, struggling with physical health, anything. It'll really help you. Questions or comments about that meditation? All right. I am going to ask you a question because I want you to answer it from your divine lens without thinking, without analyzing. So if you have a place to write right now, like a pen and a paper, that would be very helpful. If you don't worry about it. But if you don't have a pen and paper, I just want you to ponder this question, and then we're going to talk about it. So as I ask this question, you just close your eyes and take whatever the first thing comes into your consciousness as your answer, and write it down on your paper or ponder it. But don't forget the first answer that comes. That's usually the purest answer from your highest consciousness. So here is your question for tonight. Who did you come here to be? Who did you come here to be? Who did you come here to be? And just answer immediately with the first thing that comes into your consciousness. You can write it down or you can hold it in your heart. Okay, does anyone have an answer they would like to share?
I'll go. What kind of got sort of right as soon as I thought about that was a healed person.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Especially pertinent for you right now as well with your grief.
Yeah.
Oh, Does that make you feel empowered to have that answer?
It does, because it makes me think that physically my body might not be aligned to this answer yet, but everything internal, heart, soul, mind is aligned to it.
That's beautiful. A healed person. You need to write that on a card and tape it to your mirror and just read that every morning. I came here to be a healed person, body, mind, and spirit. And so it is. Anybody else? Carrie, unmute.
I got a loving light and way shower, and then I got that's why I rubbed the conformist the wrong way and like growing up, and was bullied for not following the rules that they thought they had to follow.
So say, I came here to be, make it a whole sentence and read it out loud.
I came here to be a loving light and a way shower, even especially to people who were so stuck in conforming that they couldn't think outside the box.
Write that down, Carrie, and put that on your mirror so that you never doubt yourself if you feel judged or not accepted, because you came to be the light shower and the visionary of a different way. That's beautiful. It's funny how the human mind your soul will know that. And then the human mind will say, why didn't that person like me? Or why does that person not want me to be a part of their group or something? I didn't come here to be liked. I came here to be a light shower and blaze a trail of higher consciousness. So you just put that in a beautiful, succinct sentence, Carrie, and that's perfect. Somebody else, give me one. Marcy, you have to unmute, babe.
What I heard was to love me. So I came here to love me.
I came here to love me. And boy, that is so powerful coming from you, because having physical problems makes it so hard to love ourselves when we're trying to struggle with a big health challenge. And yet that ties right in with what we were talking about the surrender to what is in this moment of your body. That is so beautiful, Marcia. I came here to love me. I hope that helps you, and you can put that on a card in your bathroom mirror.
Yes, it does help. Thank you so much.
And Marcy, you had one too.
Yes. As soon as you said that, it was just like another being just said, I came here to be myself.
Oh, very good.
And that was just it. And I was kind of shocked. I thought, okay, that's, and just like probably everybody here, I've gone through most of my life with the mind going, why can't I be part of any group?
Right,
I don't fit in anywhere.
I know.
So this was a very decisive, I came here to be myself, just carry on.
And that's so good. And also, Marcy, what it means to me is that, probably in other lifetimes, you had to fit in and conform, like your survival depended on it, and so you never could really just be you and speak your truth. And now in this lifetime, you came to own your truth and to own your authenticity and be that in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that simple statement can help you really get in touch with your divine lens whenever you remind yourself of that.
Thank you.
That brings me to think about Verl. Verl is on my heart so much today. I've never met anybody who is so much themselves as Verl. And if you guys know her from my classes, you know what I'm talking about. She doesn't care what anybody thinks about her. She's always telling stories and stopping and talking to people, and never a thought of what do they think of me. And I know that, and she said that all happened after her son died, because she had been fitting in, having a normal life and a family and a husband who wasn't very loving and good to her. And when her son crossed, she said, forget all that. I'm being Viral 100%. And she has done that now for decades, and she's such a beautiful soul. And so I know on some level, all of us can learn something from Viral, just to be absolutely fearlessly, powerfully ourselves, and to bring that to the world with joy. Who else would like to say what the answer to that question is? Who did you come here to be?
As soon as you said be, it was like love. And then I immediately go to the whole, oh, that's not real. The self-doubt comes in. It's like, you've just been thinking, walking around, what I need to focus on when I go visit Ted and be love, just be love.
Yeah.
But I know there's more to it, but
Mary Ellen, quit beating yourself up. I want you right now to say, I came here to be love, and I am. Just say it that simply and that clearly.
love.
We couldn't hear you. Come forward and say that. Say, I came here to be love, and I am. Say it.
I came here to be love, and I am.
Period.
Period.
Put that on your mirror, Mary Ellen.
Okay.
Because you are.
Well, as opposed to the whole trying to get love, you actually are it. So that's what I struggled with my whole life, is being unloved and unwanted and all that. It's like,
you know what? We can all tell those stories. We can all tell them backwards and forwards. Everybody has something in their life that makes them feel unloved, unwanted, unworthy. And yet at the end of the day, our soul came in on purpose through all of these circumstances to realize that we are loved, just like you said, Mary Ellen, to realize we are God consciousness. We are the source of unconditional love, and that God consciousness runs through all of us. We are perfect as we are. The minute our personalities and egos and physical selves get out of the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda, who did you come here to be?
I came here to be a divine daughter of light.
Oh, beautiful. Write that down. That is gorgeous. That should be the name of a book, Brenda. I came here to be a divine daughter of light. It's perfect. So who have I not heard from? I want to know who you came here to be.
So I got the same thing and had the same feelings as Mary Ellen. And then I started second guessing myself, but it came just as quick as that. You are love, and then I was like, oh no, that can't be right. And oh, I think I heard someone else say that. I think I've been taught that by another spiritual teacher. And I just started second guessing it. And I'm like, well, no, I really came here to love other people, because it seems like I'm just always there for other people. But then where is it, in return for me? I
Look
feel
at
like
that whole trail, that whole trail of monkey mind thought. That's so beautiful. I mean, I'm so glad you're sharing that, Kelly, because that is the state of the ego lens. That's how the ego lens messes with us, right? Because your soul instantly said, I came here to be loved. Simple, clean and simple, from God, right there on your plate. And then the mind comes in and goes, well, I didn't make that. Somebody else said that, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That's our human self, our ego self, our monkey mind. So your remedy is either denial and affirmation. I deny my self-doubt any power over my extraordinary awareness that I am love and that I am God consciousness. I affirm that my loving God consciousness is more powerful than my human doubting ego self. And so it is.
Thank you.
Who else have we not heard from? Who did you come here to be? I guess we've heard from everybody, or people don't want to share because they had a monkey mind experience. It's okay if you had a monkey mind experience. That's part of the thing. And once you have that monkey mind experience, then you can say, I don't need to do it that way. I'm going to do it a different way. I'm just going to hear what I hear and trust it and say it and believe it. And, you know, that monkey mind experience can sabotage even the most beautiful God moment. You know, when I walked into the store and saw that artwork right there, I could have said, oh, darn, that reminds me of Paul, you know, shoot, blah, 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 and gone down that trail that the mind wants to go down, you know, oh, what a tragedy, blah, 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 blah. But thank God my soul took over and said, perfect divine order sign from my beloved in spirit. And our mind will mess with us, but we have to really override it, especially when we're having a beautiful moment of recognition of God consciousness in something or someone or in ourselves. We don't want our ego to mess with that. We deny our ego the power to destroy our loving God consciousness awareness. Okay. So many more of these. So I wanted to talk for a minute. I know not everybody here has a career, but some of you do. Some of you are working and have a career. I wrote a book called I See Your Dream Job, and I've done thousands of clients helping them align their meaningful work, their career with their soul mission and who they came to be and do. And numerology has always been a part of that for me. And I hope that you'll another plug here, get the Sacred Numerology book and figure out your path. But I'd also say that if you're unhappy in a career or in a job, that you did come here for a great mission of work that you can make your living from. And it may take some tweaking to get there, but that lives in everyone's possibility. So, for example, clients come to me all the time and say, you know, I've had this job for 20 years and it's got benefits and a paycheck, but it's sucking my soul away. And so I'm having all these other problems in my life, but I can't quit because I need the benefits and the paycheck. And the monkey mind just takes you down that rabbit hole, doesn't it? But what I know to be true is that if we decide I'm here to be a such and such, whether it's Reiki healer, you know, acupuncturist, teacher, minister, whatever that holier work is that our soul is calling us to do, if that really feels like our mission, then we need to start taking baby steps towards it and see if we can get our career tweaked. And we hit reinvention points where the universe does that for us anyway and takes away that job. We either get fired or laid off, or the company goes under. And then we're at that place again of going, how do I take the baby steps to move forward towards my great work? And I know some of you here have jobs, and including my beloved Amber, who's not here tonight. And you're all headed for more meaningful work as you move through your reinvention cycles. But asking yourself, what has been your greatest pain, helps you find that true work. So, for example, my greatest pain, my greatest work offers to the world what I wish had been given to me in my moment of greatest pain. So what does that mean to you? I want you to ask yourself right now, contemplate in your moment of greatest pain, and you may have had more than one of those moments. Maybe look at the most powerful moment of pain. What do you wish had been offered to you? Do you wish someone had given you a spiritual perspective on that moment? Do you wish someone had told you you were worthy or healed your body? Whatever it was, it has a clue to what you're here to do with your meaningful work. And even if you're retired, you need to have purpose in life. So, for example, running a nonprofit for grieving parents, like my friend Elizabeth, things like that, that really bring meaning and purpose to our lives are so important. So who would like to do this conversation with me about your greatest pain? Who has a career they're unhappy in? Anybody? Wow, you're all
So,
happy. Jennifer,
so
I was hoping you would speak up.
so I actually switched careers 2 years ago to do something that I've always wanted to do. And while the role I don't think is probably my dream role, the company is my dream company. But and it's interesting because mine has not come from my greatest pain, but what I've always wanted to do is work with animals. And I started several years ago, and I need to kind of restart and then finish taking animal Reiki courses.
Oh, good.
And
So what you're saying is so important. So many people go and get a job for that nonprofit that's doing good work or the company that does good work, but then they find out that all day long, all they're doing is sitting in front of a computer doing something meaningless, that they're not really getting to do that. And
100%.
Yeah. So what I've seen is, you know, you've got to tweak it again. You've got to, if it's working with animals, I know several people who have now really good careers and income, either running like an animal Reiki clinic or an animal massage practice, or even some of them do animal communication. I mean, I live here in Scottsdale where there's 1 million people you can call on to come and work with your cat or your dog.
Oh, wow.
Reiki or massage or something like that. And, you know, they love their work and they're making it work. Of course, you've got to have the courage to take that entrepreneurial step.
Yeah.
But having been a single mom and done it in the midst of being a single mom, I know that one truth is if you give it your heart and soul and 100%, and it's the right path, really down to the core of what you're here to do, divine order happens and doors open and magic happens, and it's extraordinary to watch it. I've seen it in so many people's lives, and suddenly you're making the income you need to make, but now you're doing work all day long that feeds your soul.
And it's funny because a few years ago was when I started taking these courses, and a few days after I started, we had the white stone ceremony at Unity. And I was like, oh, I can't meditate. Meditation never works for me. And all of a sudden, you know, it got shouted to me because, you know, you write down your purpose on the stone. What got shouted to me was healer.
Oh, beautiful.
And that was just a few days after I started taking those courses.
So where do you stand now in those courses?
I kind of put them all on pause, but I really want to go back and retake them and get that animal Reiki certification.
I urge you to do that. And often, you know, and also what I'll add to that is that's the first step. And then you may be drawn to study something else like sound healing, for example, just making it up as I talk here, because then you're going to add that to your practice. And so you start putting together all these unique things that are how you are meant to help animals, and it becomes your unique practice, your unique business. And the more you follow those impulses and pursue them, the more you get in alignment with your great work. And it's a never-ending journey. I mean, I went through ministry school just a few years ago because I knew I wanted to add another spiritual level to the work I was doing with clients and the classes I was teaching, and it added such a beautiful layer and dimension to my work. And then I know probably there'll be something else that comes along that and then I became a soul regression therapist, which added so much beauty to the work I do. It's a constant journey if you're an entrepreneur doing your true work, of adding the pieces to it that are serving your soul and helping you give to the world what you came to give. And I do believe we all need meaningful work, and that's what feeds our souls, helps us live our purpose, and that it can create abundance for us if we give it everything we have. Any other comments about that or questions? So your homework is you're going to look for God moments again this week and try to have another God moment where you see God the good in a moment, whether it's walking into a store and seeing a piece of artwork that means something to you, or any of the other stories that people shared tonight, just trusting that you're going to have this moment where you feel the goodness, the godness of this universe. So you're asking for that again. And then ask yourself again this week, who did I come here to be? And if you feel inspired, write something about that. Write a paragraph, write a page. Who did I come here to be? And if you sit and meditate, do that Om Namah Shivaya meditation. And at the end of quieting your mind with that, that's when you can pick up a pen and a paper and go, who did I come here to be? And just keep expounding on that. It'll be so awakening for you to even see what other words and other things come through beyond that first phrase. So trust that process and dig into it. And I really look forward to seeing you all next week. And I keep wanting to throw a little numerology in here, but I know that many of you have already taken my numerology classes. So if you think you want to do a little numerology about your path next week, email me and tell me that. And if enough people tell me that, then we'll do it. But I don't want to do it unless, you know, a lot of people in the class want to look at their path. So, all right, my beloveds, let's pray out. We're going to take a deep breath. We breathe in the gratitude of these beautiful souls coming together for a night of inspiring each other, lifting each other up above the ego mind, the human mind, embracing our divinity, embracing our pure worthiness as unconditional, loving beings of God and in God and for God with every moment. And so it is. Thank you all. Love you so much. Go have a great week.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna miss next week, but I will listen to the recording.
Okay. Bye, everybody.